What are the models of communication? What are the lessons we could get from these models? This is Teacher L, and join me today in simplifying the models of communication. The following are the 8 models of communication. These are Aristotle's model, White's model, Shannon and Weaver's model, Schramm's model, Barlin's transaction model, BERLO'S SMCR model, Lasswell's model, and linear model. As a rhetoric teacher, Aristotle put up an academy where students learned the art of effective or persuasive speaking and or writing. Because of Aristotle's exceptional teaching skills, he was able to produce brilliant speakers. In his model of communication, he focused on the speaker and the message. But the setting where the listener is situated is the most important. Let's find out why. When we say setting, it is the occasion or situation when speeches are delivered. During Aristotle's time, before Christ, it was the battle of brains. Brains brought people to fame. The first setting is legal. These are the speeches delivered in courts. That time, there was no lawyer yet. Because there was no solicitor during that time, one should defend himself in court when accused. It was a must to learn how to speak with concision and persuasion. If not, a dumb innocent could be castigated or crucified. The second setting is the deliberative setting. This is about political assemblies. There were Roman assemblies where Senate was the highest. They passed laws, chose kings, and debated. The third setting is the ceremonial setting. In that era, most of the speeches were welcome speeches when Rome had visitors from other countries, weddings and victory speeches after wars, and eulogy speeches after losing lives. In Aristotle's model, the speaker should prepare the message, which is the speech. The speech is dependent to the occasion. If the occasion is eulogy, meaning you have to write a speech about the dead person, something inspiring about him when he was still alive. It means that the content should fit to the occasion. You have to check the accuracy and persuasiveness of your message before delivering it to the audience in order to have effect or impact or to influence your audience. The speaker is called as the orator in Aristotle's model. These are the 6 things to remember to be an effective orator. These are the content in which the speaker writes, his manner of delivery, pathos or building rapport to your audience using eye-to-eye contact, topics with relatable contents or the audience interests and needs, ethos or the speaker's credibility. If you know well what you're talking about, people will believe you because your message is with logos or logic. It has the valid reasons and arguments. There are 3 critical elements of a good communicator in Aristotle's model of communication. Remember the 3. These are ethos, which means credibility, pathos, which means connection, and logos, which means facts. Since there is no concept of feedback and noise, this is only good or used in public speaking because this is one way the audience could not give feedback. At this juncture, let's have Eugene White's model of communication. In here, communication is circular and continuous without a beginning or end. That's why this model is called as cyclical model. There are 8 stages of oral communication in this model. These are thinking, symbolizing, expressing, transmitting, receiving, decoding, monitoring, and feedbacking. In Eugene White's model, communication can be observed from any point in the circle, meaning you could be a speaker that could start in expressing, you could start as receiving, or you could start from decoding. That's Eugene White's model of communication. This is the illustration of Eugene White's cyclical model of communication. So you could see here, this is circular, and as a speaker, you could start at any point, and there is feedback. What is Eugene White's contribution to the field of communication? Eugene White contributed to the concept of feedback. Feedback is the perception by the speaker about the response of the listener. The speaker can only receive a feedback if the speaker is monitoring to the listener. The speaker will know what the listener's response if he or she is paying attention. So take note the most important words of White's model. These are feedback, monitoring, and paying attention, meaning as a listener, you should listen, understand, or pay attention to the message of the speaker. This time, let's have Claude Shannon and Warren Weaver's model of communication. This model gave us the concept of noise. Don't forget the term noise because this is Shannon and Weaver's contribution to the field of communication. Noise. This model is also known as telephone model because it is based on the experience of having the message interfered with by noise from the telephone switchboard back in the 1940s. Shannon and Weaver model is also known as mathematical model focused on information theory. It is called as the mother of all communication models. In this model, the message sent by the speaker is not necessarily the message received by the destination or the listener because of the possible barrier. There could be a problem with the signal when using the telephone. This is the illustration of Shannon-Weaver communication model. It starts with a message. The message is transmitted through the information source, which is the telephone, and there is the signal, and there is the noise source. And the signal received by the destination or by the receiver could no longer be the same message. So, Shannon and Weaver model highlighted barrier, the concept of noise in communication. Let's have Wilbur Schramm's model of communication. Schramm is the father of mass communication. His concept explains why communication breakdown occurs. Why is there a problem in communication? Communication can take place if and only if there is an overlap between the field of experience of the speaker and the field of experience of the listeners. It means that if both the speaker and the listener don't have the commonalities of experiences, they could not understand each other and there is no communication. Field of experience is everything that makes a person unique. Everything that he or she has ever learned, watched, seen, heard, read, and studied. It is everything that has happened in his or her life. It is a continuous process of message and feedback that allows for interaction. For Wilbur Schramm's model, don't forget the field of experience. If the speaker and the listener don't have the field of experience, communication breakdown occurs. At this stage, let's have Barland's transaction model. Barland's transaction model is with the inclusion of feedback and barrier. It's a combination. It is interactive because of a collaborative exchange of message with the aim of understanding each other. These are the highlights of Barland's transaction model. Individuals are simultaneously engaging in sending and receiving of messages. It depicts face-to-face interaction. It relates communication to social reality of an individual or a group of people in social, cultural, and relational contexts. It is a multi-layered feedback system. The model shows shared experience or shared field of experience of the sender and the receiver. This is an illustration of how complex is the process of communication. In group discussion, there are many barriers that could affect the flow of communication. It could be a noise, emotion, or intellectual capacity, or the absence of experience. Since it is a continuous process and the feedback is multi-layered, that makes the communication more complicated. For Barnlund, a group should have a shared goal of understanding each other, or else there is no communication. The only way is to have a goal to understand each other. At this point, let's have Berl's model of communication. Berl's model is a model of ingredients of communication because this model contains all the ingredients for communication to be effective. SMCR stands for the major elements, the controlling factors of communication. S stands for source, M for message, C for channel, and R for receiver. The complexity of the process of communication is illustrated in Berl's model of communication. Both the source and the receiver should have the knowledge about the topic. The speaker should have the speaking ability, and the receiver should have the listening skills. Both should have the right and positive attitude. Both should understand the importance of cultural differences, respect of beliefs or religion, or of the awareness of the need to be open-minded of the different social systems. If the listener is negative about the topic, nothing would happen, no matter how brilliant the speaker is. Nor if the speaker is not considering the belief of the receiver and insisted on his own, nothing would happen. There could be misunderstanding or there is no communication at all. All the ingredients of effective communication are listed in this model, including the importance of preparing the content, checking its clearness, completeness, conciseness, and accuracy in grammar, so that the speech will be transmitted smoothly through the senses, which is the channel of communication. Next, let's have Lasswell's model of communication. The following are the important highlights of Lasswell's model. The use of medium or channel is very crucial, like radio, television, and other gadgets. This model is about process of communication and its function to society. This communication model is similar to Aristotle's communication model. The highlight is the concept of effect. The following should be remembered in Lasswell's model. Developed to analyze mass communication, so it is propaganda-based. It does not include barrier and feedback. It is also known as action model, linear or one-way. There is a big difference when it comes to preparation of content if the medium is radio or television. Because this model is propaganda-based, the speaker should have the technical and creative skills. The importance of analysis in the content, media, audience, and the effect of the message is a must before finalizing the message. There should be a group to scrutinize the content before it will be shown on televisions or aired on radio stations. These are the illustrations of the linear model of communication. This is just very simple. There is the sender or the speaker. The sender will give the message, and there is a receiver who will receive the message. To sum it up, linear model is a one-way communication. This is used for mass communication. In here, senders send a message and receivers only receive. There is no feedback, and there is a concept of noise. The following are the pros or advantages of linear model. This is good at audience persuasion and propaganda setting. This is good for intentional results. The following are the cons or disadvantages of linear models. Communication is not continuous, is no concept of feedback. There is no way to know if communication is effective. I categorize these models of communications into two. These are linear and interactive. Under linear models are SHANNON-WEAVER, Aristotle, BERLO'S, and Lasswell. Linear model does not acknowledge feedback, or there is no means for immediate feedback. It is a straight line and one-way communication found typically in mass communication. Under interactive models are Parlant, Schramm, and White. Interactive model is two-way communication process. It allows for a feedback because after a message is encoded and sent to the receiver, the roles then reverse and the receiver encodes and sends a response to the original sender who has now turned receiver. The essential elements of communication are found in those models of communication. Learning them is important in making our communications effective in whatever setting. This knowledge will help us decide in preparing our message, in transmitting the message, in giving the right feedback, and in dealing with others properly in our day-to-day conversations. Thank you for learning with me today. This has been your Teacher L.